Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I hear the name Diadora, the first thing that springs to mind is football boots, and quality football boots at that, but also 1980s sporting apparel. So things like t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, and matching tracksuits. And I'm pretty sure I had one of their tracksuits back when I was a teenager, many years ago. But I wouldn't necessarily think of running shoes, but in today's video we are taking a look at their latest neutral daily trainer, the Cellula 2. So this has just gone through an update and it's actually going to be the first time I run in a pair of their shoes. So I'm very excited about today's video. So without further ado, let's get stuck in and tell you all about the new Cellula 2. So we are back from the deserts of Morocco after running Ultra X Morocco, and what an incredible experience we had. Obviously there will be some videos coming to the channel very soon from the race because I filmed on both days and also traveling out to Morocco. But thanks for tuning in again, folks. I'm Lloyd Purvis and this is Run4Adventure. I hope you are all fit and well out there and starting to get in the festive spirit of things as we rapidly move towards Christmas. But let's kick things off first with giving you a few facts and figures about Diadora's latest neutral daily trainer. First up, the all-important price point. So the new Cellula 2 has just become available on the Diadora website for £150 here in the UK. So I would say that sort of puts them in the sort of higher price range when it comes to a neutral daily training shoe these days, although it does look like a well put together shoe and everything has been finished off really nicely. Weight wise, they're not the lightest option out there. So my pair in a UK 9.5 tips the scales at a pretty hefty 332 grams. Now, that did come as a bit of a surprise when I popped them on the scales, because when the shoes originally turned up and I took them out of the box, they did actually feel a fair bit lighter than that. As far as the midsole specs go, we've got a 38mm stack height at the heel, 33mm under the forefoot, giving the Cellula 2 a 5mm offset. And that's great because that's the perfect drop for me when it comes to my running shoes. As far as I can see, they're available in 3 different colorway options for men and for women. And I don't know about you, but this blue and white colorway is really giving me sort of old school Hoka Clifton vibes with this deeply cushioned rockered midsole. Moving on, and Diadora claim that these new updates should improve overall bounce to this midsole, which should help when it comes to muscle fatigue if you're running distance. And they kind of pitch the Cellula 2 as their workhorse everyday trainer within your running shoe rotation. Whether you're heading out for a nice slow steady recovery run, or you're going to be lacing them up for your longest effort of the week, whether you're completely new to the running scene or you're a seasoned pro, this shoe should be able to handle it all. Construction wise, Diadora have gone with a nylon air mesh and microfiber upper, which actually looks like it should be highly breathable. We've got a pretty thin tongue design, but I'm happy to see it is gusseted inside that upper, and a pretty traditional looking lacing setup with some extra overlays around those lace eyelets just for durability. When it comes to the lack of padding in the tongue, I think it's been made up for in the ankle collar and in the heel cup, because there is a lot of padding there, and I've got to say it does feel and look quite bulky. Now, it's going to be interesting to test that out on today's run. I dare say it's going to feel very comfy, but hopefully it's not over padded, because that can sometimes cause slippage issues. And finishing up, we've got a handy heel loop on the back of the shoe and what looks like a well-cushioned removable pair of TPU insoles inside. But moving down to the midsole construction is where we're going to see the biggest update. So this time round, the Cellula actually comes with a core of Anima N2 foam, and that is a nitrogen infused supercritical foam. So the Cellula 2 actually has a dual compound midsole setup. So the bulk of the construction is their standard Anima foam, and then we have that core of their lighter, more responsive foam in the forefoot for increased bounce. And if I flip the shoes over, you can see that we've got a good helping of Diadora's Duratec 5000 wear resistant rubber compound on the bottom for good levels of grip and durability while you're running all those training miles. But you can also see we've got a fair bit of exposed EVA. We got some cutouts and some voids going on as well, just to help when it comes to flexibility and the overall weight of the shoe. But speaking of flex, if I try and flex that midsole, the midfoot, it is pretty stiff. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how that feels out on today's run. And speaking of running, I think we've reached that time in the video when we need to put the Cellula 2 to the test. So I'm off to get changed. I'm going to grab the cameras and we'll see you guys out on the roads of Cornwall. Okay, so first mile down, and the first thing I'm noticing is it's pretty chilly out here today, 8 degrees, the wind is cold, and my last run was done in the deserts of Morocco at 27 degrees, so I'm definitely feeling the temperature change. Okay, trying to shelter from the wind, hope the audio's okay, it's proper blowy, but as far as the fit goes, I would say the Cellula 2 is true to size. So this UK 9.5 is giving me just the right length in the toe box. So that's great that we've got an Italian shoe brand that's fitting well, because some Italian shoe brands size can be all over the place, mentioning no names, Sportiva. So it's great that it's fitting true to size, but I would say it is narrow in the toe box, and you know, I'm feeling quite constricted and I haven't got a wide foot, but true to size, quite narrow in the toe box and good hold in the heel. So the plan for today's test run, as it is my first run back since Ultra X Morocco, just a nice little steady run to shake the legs out. So we're going to aim for sort of 10k, 7 miles, and I've been running at a sort of steady pace between 8:15 and 8:30. So let's crack on, let's get this run done. Okay, so that is 3 miles in the bag already. I hate to say it, but I think the rain is coming. It was forecasted for heavy showers today. I was hoping we'd get away with it, but on another good note is the foot is feeling okay. So I went into Ultra X Morocco with a bit of a foot niggle. Obviously it flared up after running 110k over the 2 days. I've given it a few days rest and no foot pain so far. So that is definitely positive heading forward. So fingers crossed we can keep managing it and I can keep running. Oh, wow, that wind was strong coming round the harbour there, but we are just over 4 miles now into the run. The foot continues to feel okay, and I think a lot of that is down to the shoe seems to have a nice level of sort of shape and support in the instep. We've also got a nice rocker geometry, and that seems to be rolling along nicely and taking a bit of pressure off of my plantar fascia, which is what's causing me all the problems. So yeah, foot pain's good and the shoe feels nice and efficient while I'm running, but we're going to try and get these next couple of miles in. Hopefully it'll be less windy down this way. Okay, so we have just ticked past 5.5 miles and the body and the shoes continue to run well. We'll get this last sort of mile or so finished up, get back to the studio, and then we'll wrap up on how the Cellula 2 has performed out here on its first test run. Right, we are back, and I'm happy to say I think I timed it just right to avoid all the wet stuff. So it has literally started to pour down with rain as I speak, and I actually managed 7.22 miles by the end of the run, and I think that's perfect distance to run when you're coming back after a long event, and it seemed to shake the legs off nicely. And I was actually really surprised with how good they felt, because they did take a bit of a battering in the last 10 or 15 miles of the final day of Ultra X Morocco. But the biggest surprise of all is how good my foot felt, because I really wasn't sure how happy it'd be out there on its first run back, but it actually felt pretty good. As far as the Cellula 2 goes, a very comfortable upper on my foot shape, and there's actually a bit more padding in that thin gusseted tongue than I first thought. So those laces sat nice and comfortable on the top of my foot when I pulled them down nice and tight. And I did have my concerns before the run about the volume of padding around the ankle collar and in the heel cup, because there is a lot of it, but no problems there either. And I actually got a really nice secure heel hold with zero slippage. Like I said, out on the run, the only issues I could see for some runners is the width in the toe box, or should I say the lack of width, because this is a pretty narrow fitting shoe. Now, that's no problem for me because I've got a fairly narrow foot anyway, but even towards the end of the run, I would have liked a little bit more wiggle room up front once my feet had expanded. So if you did have a fairly wide foot shape, I think you might have a few fitment issues with the Cellula 2. This dual compound midsole setup felt nicely cushioned underfoot. Now, I wouldn't say it's a super bouncy shoe, but it's definitely not firm either. And I'd actually put the level of cushioning somewhere between a Brooks Ghost Max and say an Asics Nova Blast. And I didn't actually run in the original version of these, but I dare say with them adding that core of a Nema N2 supercritical foam in the forefoot, it's just given the shoes a little bit more pop in that midsole. And I'd say for a daily workhorse neutral trainer, the level of cushioning in that midsole is just right. Again, something else I picked up out there on the run was that I seemed to get a nice level of support and shape on my instep, especially for a neutral training shoe. And this rocket geometry in the midsole seemed to roll along nicely, making the Cellula 2 a nice easy shoe to run in. However, at 332 grams in a UK 9.5, these are quite heavy, and I've got to say I did notice that out on the run. So I'd personally like to see them closer to 300 grams. That seems to be the sort of sweet spot for me when it comes to my neutral, deeply cushioned daily trainer. So hopefully we'll see a slight overall weight reduction in future models. I said before the run that the Cellula 2 was kind of giving me old school Hoka Clifton vibes with the design and the colorway, but actually when it comes down to running performance, they did feel quite similar to Saucony's Endorphin Shift when it comes to the level of cushioning in that midsole and the rocket geometry. But last but not least, outsole performance was really good today, and there was quite a few times when I was running on wet pavements that were covered in slippery leaves, and this rubber outsole gave me excellent levels of grip, which really did help to give me confidence in my footing. So all in all, it was a positive first experience in a pair of Diadora running shoes, and the Cellula 2 performed well out there on its first test run. And I guess the only thing holding me back from reaching for these as my daily trainer for those steady miles throughout the week is the overall weight of the shoe. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't like I was running along in a pair of lead boots or anything, but I just prefer a lighter feeling running shoe when it comes to that workhorse shoe in my rotation. And on that note, it brings today's video to a close. Really hope you enjoyed it. Really hope you found it helpful in some way. And I think it's going to be interesting to see where the Diadora brand goes next with their running shoes, because they've obviously got a lot of history and expertise when it comes to designing and developing sports shoes. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they develop their running shoe range over the next few years. I've got to say a big shout out to the brand for sending out the Cellula 2 for testing. It really is a big help and greatly appreciated. If you have any questions about the shoes, please feel free to get them in the comments below, and I'll try and get back to them as soon as possible. I've also left a link for the Diadora website in the description below, just in case you want to find out any more information about these. But for now guys, thanks for watching. It's always appreciated. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll be back here soon with some more interesting running content, and as always, stay safe and keep on running. Oh, wind. Oh, I hate wind. Oh. It's okay. No damage. Phew.